Hey there, everyone. Before we start the show, we here at Popcorn for Dinner want to give a big shout out to our good friend and illustrator, Kyle Kedzik, for helping us celebrate making it to 40 episodes with some brand new custom artwork, which is now up on all of our social media accounts. We love it. We hope you love it. And if you're looking for some new custom artwork for your business or project, you can look him up on Facebook at Kyle Kedzik, or even drop him a line at kylekedzik@gmail.com. That's KYLEKEDZUCH@gmail.com. Happy New Year, everybody, and welcome back to Popcorn for Dinner. This is Jeff.
And Kelly.
Our first episode of the new year of 2021.
Yes.
And we are trying something a little different this month in terms of movie selection, just a unique theme, because, you know, we've done director before with John Hughes. We've done actor with Tom Cruise. Didn't mean for those to rhyme, but they did. Genre and, holiday and all that kind of stuff. So for this month, I don't even remember exactly where the thought came from, but it was just...
it was one specific movie that we are really hoping we can pull off.
Oh, yes. There was an idea, and there was one movie slotted for later in this month, hopefully soon, because it is like the impetus of this whole thing. But this month we are going to do Before They Were Famous. Yes. We're going to try and track down the ridiculous movies that popular actors and actresses have been in before they really became the person that they are, which is super fun. It's one of those things that's always intrigued me. Yeah. Of like when you see someone famous in a role before they were really who they were, and just being like, oh, hey, it kind of hit me in 16 Candles, seeing John Cusack so young and so clearly like early in his career and everything, but in that moment just being like, oh my God, you can see it.
Yeah.
Holy hell, this guy.
Yeah.
So that kind of stuff is fun.
You have a great future ahead of you, kid.
Yeah, exactly. Look forward to it. You're going to work with Sam L a lot. It's going to be crazy. But that is a super small role in a bigger movie. So in this sense, we really want to try and track down a movie where these people are the lead. It's we essentially got to avoid people whose like first big lead role was like gigantic.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Where it's like, oh shit, no, we need someone who's done stuff before they really hit it.
Yeah.
What's so funny about this like concept, and obviously we're going to jump into the movie in a second, but just leading into like the discovery of this is like, it's hard to find these movies.
Yes.
You know what I mean? Like most of these movies where it's like, oh my God, that's so-and-so's first movie. It's like, yeah, well, if it's not a huge hit, then chances are it's not going to be on Netflix or Hulu or at the library or easily accessible at a video store or something like that, where it's like, fuck, you really got to kind of dig.
Yeah. And
so I was on the fence about whether we should do it this month, because I was like, I just don't know if we're going to find these movies. And I just don't know. There's so much uncertainty with it. And I happened to stop by a store looking for the other movie that we were talking about that hopefully we will do later.
Yes.
Did not find it, of course. Like, God damn it. But then the box to this movie was just staring at me out of the horror section. And horror is an awesome genre for this shit.
Yes.
It's like every young actor does a horror movie. And since they're so like low budge and like nobody gives a fuck, like nobody's are given lead roles and shit, because it's just like, it's a lead role in, Garbage Slasher number 8.
Yeah.
It's not that big of a deal. You're not going to get anybody better. So, okay. So I was like kind of drawn to the horror section, like, oh, there's probably something in here. I know I was looking for Leprechaun for Jennifer Aniston.
Yes.
Hopefully we'll be able to do that one. or find that one. That one might be fun. But the box to this one just had this big familiar face right on the front. And I was like, what the fuck is this? And so I had to look at it real quick to make sure that it was prior to the movies that he is most known for as of right now.
Yes.
We'll see if his reputation changes in the future. It already started to, but we'll see if he's one day like, oh yeah, he was in those. That's right.
Yeah.
Instead of, oh, the guy from those.
Yes.
And the movie that we are doing this week, Robert Pattinson in the 2006 psychological thriller, The Haunted Airman. And boy, this was exactly what I was looking for.
I was not prepared for what this movie was.
Oh man, it is like, it's one of those perfect movies where the badness is not necessarily also married to like boring.
Right.
So much. Like it was definitely it kept me intrigued. Like, okay, I'll put it this way. There were a lot of things about this movie that I realized after writing it down that you could also write about a really successful psychological thriller, but I feel like this was on accident. You know, like we'll get into it because there was one note that it was just like I wrote it down and then I read it back to myself and I was like, wait, that sounds like a compliment. But it's not supposed to be, because like this movie is borderline incomprehensible in terms of exactly what is happening.
Yes.
Like on a frame to frame basis.
I'm so glad it's not just me.
Dude.
Like, I don't even know. I have so many questions.
I can only imagine that there will be moments where it'll be like, I didn't get this, did you? And then we'll be like, nope. Total agreement on what made zero sense. But I am going to real quick read the IMDb log line, the synopsis of this movie, just to see if it is actually a descriptor of it or how loose they play with it. But The Haunted Airman is the story of an injured RAF pilot confined to a wheelchair who is committed to an eerie hospital where he starts to lose his mind.
Okay.
I would say
general
fair assessment on the big
the big picture. General story arc. That is what happens. Yes,
totally. Every single character in this movie is like an enigma in terms of just like anything. I don't understand a thing about these people. There's one level of bad movie where everyone just says what they're thinking all the time out loud as dialogue. You know what I mean? Where they're just like, I'm angry about this, or like, you know, something really dumb like that. This is the other end where like nobody ever says anything, so I know nothing. Yeah. It's bizarre.
And because it's a psychological thriller, there were times where I wasn't even sure what was real.
That is literally exactly what I'm talking about in terms of like writing something that sounds like a compliment, but it shouldn't be. Yeah. I wrote, there's no clear delineation between nightmares and reality. And it's like, that sounds like a compliment to a psychological thriller. Like it blurs the lines between, you know, what's real and what's not. But really all like what I really actually mean is that a scene will happen. And then like specifically what happened in the scene that I was talking about is that like he leaves a room in his wheelchair and then he wheelchairs back down the hallway. And that is clearly supposed to be like moments later.
Right.
But then it just cuts and then he wheelchairs into a room and you're like, okay, how much later is this? Is this just a second later? Is that like, you know what I mean? Like, did he go from that room to now this room? Is this hours later after dinner? You know, what is actually happening here? They don't give you any clues.
Yeah.
And then that scene of him entering the room will end in like a nightmare sequence. And then he wakes up somewhere else 100% completely different.
Yeah.
And you're like, where did the nightmare start?
Yeah.
Was it the first scene where he's talking with the people and then he comes back and they're gone and then he goes into the other room? Did that really happen where he talked to the people and then they left the room and left him there?
Yeah.
I have no idea. The movie, I don't think, has any idea.
It's
absolutely like maddening to try and figure out what is happening in this movie, like on a scene by scene basis.
Yes.
Because things just like end, like scenes just out of nowhere. It'll be like to me, it felt like they were in the middle of a conversation and it'll just be like, next scene. Yeah. It's like, where, what happened?
How?
But just like, once it's over, you sit there and you realize like, wait a minute, so nothing happened in that. You know, like I was waiting for what the scene was getting to, and it just ended before it got to anything.
That's like the whole movie, too.
I mean, yeah, that can be applied to the whole thing itself, being 70 minutes long. Yeah. And somehow, like.
Still, somehow ending on a cliffhanger?
Sort of? I don't even know, man. Essentially, the story is that he is a pilot in the RAF during World War II. He apparently gets shot down or gets shot while flying. Yeah. And it hits him, whatever. It did not explain at all. I wrote into my notes, I was like, they went down, he shit himself, what happened? Because there's literally just close-ups on pilots in the dark. And then stock footage of bombings. Yes. Like clearly old footage of bombings that does not mesh with what they shot.
Yeah. Interspersed seemingly like random throughout the movie.
Yeah, throughout the whole movie too. Because I thought it was just going to be the beginning. Like they're just going to show some bombs.
Okay,
it's like,
fine.
all right, fine. Yeah. You don't have the budget to create an explosion and you don't want to just like imply it or whatever. So okay, but the fact that it comes back like 100 times every night he goes to bed, he sees the exact same things the whole time, all this stock footage.
And sometimes he's not even in bed at night, though apparently still asleep.
He falls asleep looking at the shadows. Or something. I don't know. They never ever. I'll put it this way: for a movie that shows him waking up like 40 times, I don't think I once saw him go to sleep.
Yeah, like actually fall asleep.
Yeah, other than being hypnotized. Yeah, other than the hypnosis scene. He doesn't ever fall asleep in any of his scenes, but he wakes up a billion times throughout the movie. So like that's something that's confusing. It's like it's never shown to you when a nightmare sequence might be starting, so you'd never know what's real or not. Yeah. Like what in this movie actually happened? Yeah. I would have a hard time explaining.
Like what, what 10 minutes of this movie actually happened? Yeah, like if you cut out everything that was actually a nightmare or a delusion or whatever, it would just be like him rolling in and like laying in bed and like getting a sponge bath. And then I don't know. I don't know if anything else actually happened. I assume the other guy did in fact kill himself. I mean, that was because it was addressed by other people, right? I mean, but what if that was real? Like their reactions could have been a delusion as well. Who knows? This is true. But like the thing that just is so baffling to me about this movie is like, so he gets paralyzed in battle, and so now he is being sent to this like, retired, injured service people, like facility or whatever, way out in who knows where. And that's, on purpose and stuff, because some of the guys there are like shell shocked and loud noises would spook him and stuff. So it's like he's there. Yeah, it's like a PTSD hospital. Pretty much, yeah. And he's there, and his like issue does like. It was really confusing exactly what his problem was. Yeah. Which was like especially a problem for this movie of like trying to sit there and like give a shit about what is going on, where it's just like, I don't know what's wrong. Yeah. Because all he ever talks about is his aunt that he wants to fuck. Yeah. Which is like that is the absolute strangest decision. Yeah. In this movie is making that character his aunt. Yeah. Like, why? What? Yeah. What why? Is the purpose other than to make you feel icky when they start making out later in the movie? Like, and they explain that it's not his blood aunt; it's his uncle's widow, right? And whatnot, as though that's going to make it less creepy or whatever.
That's still, there's an age difference if she's been there like his whole life.
It's a psychological thriller movie. Like everything about it is like grimy and green looking and stuff, where it's just like you're almost predisposed to think that whatever they're doing is weird. So to like on top of it be like, oh, also we're related, and for a long time our relationship was aunt and nephew.
Yeah.
Like that's so weird. I don't care about the blood not being, like it's just the strangest thing. And he's like fucking obsessed with her. Yes. To the point where I was like, is something going to come of this? Of like, he killed his uncle or something, like some sort of madness to go along with that. None of it ever matters at all.
Yeah.
Them being related, them specifically being aunt and nephew, has no bearing on the story whatsoever.
Yeah, none.
She could have been anyone in the world. It could be somebody he met at school. It could be somebody he met in the military. It could be somebody you met since he's been back. It could be somebody he's known since childhood. It could be literally any fucking person in the entire world. It changes the story not one iota, other than being weird. Yeah. Like, oh, but we'll make it his aunt. Gross. What the fuck? There are like 3 or 4 sequences of him sitting in his bed, staring off into the dark, and nothing happening.
Yeah.
And then it would just end, and then it's the next day, and then whatever. And it's like, you're not even giving me a reason to feel any kind of suspense or like or thrills or anything in this moment, because it's literally like he like would like sit up in his bed a little bit and he'd fucking light a match. Like, oh yeah, that'll light the other side of the room.
Yeah.
But he's just like holding it out and looking off into the dark, and it would cut to the dark, and I'd just be sitting there like, all right, movie, give me
something,
a little bit of something. Like maybe not the first time, but probably the first time I let it slide, because I was like, that happens a lot in horror movies.
Yeah.
Where it'll be like, is there something? Is there anything? We're just going to move on. Like, you're going to think about it. In the back of your head, you'll be like, was there anything there? I don't know. So, maybe the first time you let it slide. But by the like third scene of him just like looking in the dark, and then the camera sort of zooms in on the dark and there's still nothing there. You could see like, okay, there's the outline of like a chair and what? There's nothing behind the chair. There's nothing on the chair. What am I supposed to be looking at here? And then it's just next day. And it's like, he is not being haunted.
Yeah.
The title says The Haunted Airman, and all the hauntings are basically just things that would happen if you left the door open.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Because it's like he gets covered in spiders at one point, and at least they were real spiders in the second scene. Because there's that first scene with the like CGI shadow spiders or whatever that come for him, and I was like, oh no, this is gonna be really bad. Like this is gonna be exceedingly bad. Yeah. If that's the level of shit we got to deal with of these like I couldn't tell if they were supposed to be real spiders or like ghostly phantom shadow spiders.
Yeah.
Either way they look bad, but if they were supposed to be shadow spiders, then I get it a little more. If they were supposed to be real spiders, they looked like garbage.
Yeah.
But then the second scene he gets covered in spiders, and it's like they're obviously real spiders.
Yeah.
And then later, like a bird gets in. There's like a crow in the room with him, and he's like, "Oh, get out of here, crow!" I was like, "This is not a haunting.
Yeah,
this is just a guy who just can't deal with all these animals.
Yeah,
and that's all it is." And finally, at the end of the movie, a ghost shows up.
Yeah, two
of them. Yeah, but it was just like this whole movie like promises a haunting.
Yeah,
and gives you nothing.
None
until the very end, and then at that point, it's not even a scary ghost.
Yeah.
It's like a, hey, it's your buddy from the other side kind of ghost. It's like, God damn it, that's as scary as a force ghost. Like, there's no terror in this. Come on. But like, it's a series of like just nonsensical scenes. Like the whole bit with the letters.
Yeah.
I don't understand why. I understand what. I don't understand why. Because it's like it starts off and he's writing letters to his aunt.
Right.
It's so strange. But he's like writing all these mushy letters to his aunt about how much he loves her and wishes she was there, and the life that they will build with each other and all this shit and whatever. And then as it goes on, he's reading them as he's writing them. So he's like, filling us in on the exposition as we go. Like those are the only actual glimpses into his mind.
Yeah.
Are the fucking letters that he's writing. And half the time it's just like, I love you, my aunt.
Yeah.
And like, why haven't you written me back? And that's pretty much it. So at that point I was like, okay, we got two things going on here. two possible things going on here. His letters are getting dumped.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like they're not going out.
Yeah.
Or she's been dead the whole time. I didn't know which one it was going to go for. I was like, it could be one or the other. And then later I was like, it could be both.
Yeah.
Because the way that the doctor was talking to him, it seemed like he was like, yo, Toby, you got to figure out, like, he never said the word specifically, but it felt like it was like, you need to figure out why you're here.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I was like, these nightmares with the bombings and the whatever, like it's not enough to me, at least, especially because it'll just end with him like waking up all sweaty and just being like, and then lighting another cigarette. Yeah. And then that's it. There's no like compounding like horror or even like just like seeming distress within himself.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like he never seems like he's going through all that much.
Yeah.
Other than when he wakes up from a nightmare every once in a while, which is like, yeah, that sucks. But that's not a reason to like lock someone away in some weird place off in the country.
Yeah.
So when the doctor kept telling him shit about like, oh, you know, we'll get to the bottom of all this. You need to understand, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
I was like, she's dead. And he's writing letters to her and doesn't understand that they're never going to come back.
Yeah.
And that's what the doctor is trying to get him to figure out.
That would have been such a great thing.
That would have been a story.
Yeah.
But I also don't understand like how far in cahoots he and the aunt were. Because by the end of the movie, apparently they're doing it.
Yeah.
Right? That's apparently a real thing that was happening.
Yes.
Because again, lots of stuff happens that you're not 100% sure if it's real or not. When the doctor like tells him something about evil. What was that? Oh, he gives him the razor.
Yeah.
He gives him the razor and he's like, you should just do it.
Like, I trust you to make the right decision.
Yeah. And it was like, okay, was that a real thing that happened? Did he want him to kill himself? Or was that Toby's crazy brain?
I don't know. I think the doctor wanted him to kill himself. It seems like that was probably what the aunt's whole thing was like. Yeah, here, doctor, whatever, get him to
kill himself.
Kill himself so that we can be together, and he's just gone.
Gotcha.
Like, that's easier than dumping him, apparently.
I guess. I mean,
because you're his only like living relative or whatever.
Yeah, I don't know. I did look into it briefly, looking at the novel that this was based on, called "The Haunting of Toby Jug." It has a slightly similar like concept, except tons of stuff is way more fleshed out. And like there's no aunt subplot at all.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, but which just makes the movie even stranger.
Yeah.
That it decided to do that. That it was like, this is our idea. This is our stamp on this story. It's the creepy aunt-nephew relationship. But most specifically is that it's made apparent, very apparent in the story, that the psychiatrist is in fact in league with the devil and is sending swarms of spiders and monsters to Toby to drive him mad.
Gotcha.
So that is very explicit in the story.
Yeah.
In the movie, there's nothing to tell us that anyone is doing this to him. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like there's no it's not like he is being like targeted by a person. It's just like weird thing. I mean, really just weird spider and crow related things keep happening to him, because everything else, like we've said, has just been like darkness noises. Yeah, no, nothing's there. Moving on.
Yeah.
And that's it. So you're just like, okay, so what is it then?
Yeah.
And they don't explain it at all.
No.
And then there's one line later in the movie
Yep.
that I was 3 question marks went after my question afterwards when was it Sally is the name of the nurse, right?
I believe so.
Yeah. Toby at this point, like this is towards the end of the movie, and he's freaking out and he's like, we have to leave. We must leave.
Yeah.
And he can't get out of the house on his own because apparently back then they didn't make ramps.
No, he could, because he got all the way down to that one gate.
Oh yeah, that's right. I just remember the one scene where he goes to like the front door and he like can't go down these stairs, and he seemed trapped upstairs, and it was like shit. He has to have somebody let him out of upstairs. That sucks. But he's freaking out, and now obviously he needs help for someone to get him out of there. And he's explaining to Sister Sally that, like, oh, everyone, the doctor is against me, and everything's going crazy. We got to go and something. And she tells him, or no, I forget who said the line, if it was him or if it was Sally.
I'm pretty sure if it's the line I'm thinking of, he said it.
Is it he told me his master was the prince of this world? Yeah. I just wrote, when the fuck did he say that?
Yeah.
Because that would have been interesting to see. The doctor saying that he is in league with the devil.
Yeah.
When did this happen? I've been watching this movie this whole time. I have not like dozed off at any point in time.
Yeah.
Where the fuck is this scene then? Like, that explains the shit that's happening. You know what I mean? Like, the only reason I know that, like, that wasn't just a complete, like, throwaway nonsense, like, oh, he's going crazy and he's talking about whatever. It's like, no, he's right. He is. His master is the devil, because according to the original story, he is, and he's attacking him. Nothing like that in this movie.
Awful.
At all. And the finale of this whole thing, like, I don't understand. I don't understand it. I don't know why it had to happen the way that it did. I don't know why they, like, chose to do it this way. Anything about it. Because he crawls out of bed.
Well, because he was tranquilized.
Well, also, he's paralyzed.
Well, yes, that also.
Like, that I understand. I'm not sitting there like, why don't his legs work? But I'm just saying, he crawls out of bed and is crawling around the house basically for the rest of the movie. Once he crawls out of bed and is crawling around, and it looks ridiculous, and it's just like a silly sort of thing. Like, I get that that's what he would have to do if he was gonna make his way around the house. And
sneak around without a squeaky wheelchair.
Yeah, I guess, but it's like, that's no quieter. Yeah. Especially when he's got like a lantern thing, like a candle holder with him that's like clanking as he's crawling around. Like, it's just such a ridiculous thing that's going on. And I'm like, where is this going? Like, is he hopefully soon going to be discovered by someone and then they'll explain what's happening or something? Like, will the doctor come out and be like, oh, who do you think you are? Messing with the devil. But the doctor never has another line in the... Oh, no, he has one other line in the movie, which is like, I thought I heard something out here. Yeah. And that's it. But, like, he crawls towards their room, or the doctor's room, whatever, opens the door and sees them, like, making out on the bed or something, right?
It's something like that,
Something like that. So it's like, okay, so there's confirmation.
Yeah, they're getting frisky.
Yeah, that they're doing it, which is something that, like, he had been concerned about, right?
Yeah.
He had mentioned it before.
He was suspicious, and I think one of the things was...
how do blind people toast?
Yes.
Yeah. I noticed that too, where she repeats something that the doctor said, which is like the laziest way to show that like they've been spending time together is they tell the same terrible jokes.
Yeah.
He told her this terrible joke and she's spreading it to him now. I noticed that, and him being like, oh, what are you doing? So he sees that and then he hides. He hides behind a pillar while his aunt and the doctor come out into the hallway. And they're like looking around, and that's when the doctor says like, oh, I thought I heard something out here. I guess I didn't, blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
And then he goes back into the room. The aunt stays out in the hallway, and fucking Toby just like crawls out from behind the thing. And she's like, shh, what are you doing? And I was like, what is happening? She knew he was back there? Like, why did he feel comfortable enough to come out if he was hiding from them?
Yeah.
Like, I don't understand what his intentions were here. And then now she seems like it was a plan between them, because she's like, shut up, you're going to get us caught or something.
Yeah.
I'm like, what is happening here? And then he just like, does he drag her to the ground? I forget how she gets on the ground. Because I was like, you know what I mean? Like, if she's staying on her feet, there's no way for him to do what he eventually does to her.
Yeah.
So it's like she has to have gotten on the ground for some reason. And I don't recall what caused it to happen.
Did she like sit to like talk with him or something?
I have no clue. But
or squat down.
Yeah, or something. Like, she must get down to his level for one reason or another. And then he just sort of like crawls on top of her.
Yeah, just overtakes her.
Yeah, and it's like, okay, I get it. Like, dead weight is probably, it's very hard to like, to whatever. But like,
plus a lot of upper body strength from moving himself around in the wheelchair and all
doing those crazy exercises that they they use the exact same footage twice.
Yes.
Like for a little sequence too.
Mm-hmm.
It was like the shot out the window is the same as the one earlier in the movie. The shot of him actually doing the arm exercises, same shot as earlier in the movie. I was like, this is 70 minutes and you didn't shoot enough footage?
Yeah.
My God. But he just like crawls on top of her, and instead of like alerting someone else, she literally just lets him kill her.
Yeah, while she's like, whispering.
Like,
no, stop.
Yeah, and then just like lays there perfectly calm as he just drags a blade across her throat and kills her, and it's just like blah. And then it's like a sort of close shot on him, like on top of her with her throat cut and the blood like pouring out everywhere. And then it cuts to the opposite shot and the doctor is standing behind them.
Yep.
But not looking like a mastermind though. Like, I maybe would have expected that. You know what I mean? Like, if he's, like, evil or whatever. And it's like, oh, well, now you've murdered someone, so you'll go to jail for the rest of your life. Your life is ruined just like I wanted to.
Yeah.
But no, he seems completely shocked as to what has happened. Like, oh, my God. Why didn't she yell? I would have come if she had yelled. I don't know why. She just laid there and let him do it. Like, so bizarre. I have no clue why any of that happened.
Me neither. I mean, I assume that, you know, the whole doctor leaving the razor blade there was real and that his intention was for Toby to off himself. I guess that means that the surprise and, you know, shock in his face at the end was shit. That wasn't who I thought you'd kill.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
I meant for you to kill yourself, but I guess this dummy. Also solves the whole love triangle thing.
I mean, solves it. It's a strange way to look at it. That's an optimistic way to phrase it.
You know, I'm a silver linings kind of person.
He was like, oh, well, that answers that.
Yeah. Guess I gotta go find some other ant to bang.
Yeah. Like, story-wise, I don't understand anything.
Yeah.
I have no clue what anybody really, truly wanted. I don't know who is to be believed. The only person who seemed truly on the level the whole time was Sally.
Yes.
The nurse.
I liked Sally.
Other than when she turns him in immediately.
Or maybe Sally. She got caught and forced into giving, but no, she
I don't
probably,
think so. Because I think at the end of that scene where he's trying to convince her to go, I think he loses her.
Yeah.
He starts saying something. I think it's the stuff about the devil that she's like, oh, he's lost it.
He needs to be here.
Okay. Yeah. Like if it was just like, oh, yeah, you know, that was kind of fucked up with your letters. I heard about that.
Yeah.
You know, this might not be the best place for you. And like, that's right. Also, he's the devil.
And he locked you in the... Because he was locked in the room.
I thought she said that the boys must have done it.
No, she came in and like, oh, did those mean boys lock you in? And he said no. Dr. Burns.
Oh, right. My assumption was that she didn't believe that. But she was just like, yeah, sure. Okay, you're paranoid and crazy. What's hysterical to me is like how little all of this like nonsense and terribleness is Robert Pattinson's fault.
Yeah.
Like literally almost none of it. You know what I mean? Like he gives fucking all he can to this ridiculous shit. And the only times that he really looks or sounds stupid are in the scenes that are edited so poorly that like there's no way for someone to come out looking good in something like this.
Yeah.
That first scene when she wheels him into the room and just like straight into a spider web.
Yeah.
Like with no regard for like it's like I don't know if he was supposed to have been doing it, like rolling the chair himself, because you don't really see, but it seems like she's like just wheels him up there and then like whoop, and just lets him go, and then he just goes right into the web and he's like and it's these like terrible jump cuts and this like awful fake looking spider web and all that stuff, and like in that moment he looks like an idiot. Yeah. Because there's no way to not look like a fucking idiot with just like how bad the shot is.
Yeah.
I'm sure how terrible the direction was at that point. It's like, just look, you'll look spooked. there's a spider in your face. Look spooked. Although they'd probably be British. It's gonna look spooked. More spooked than that.
They probably wouldn't use spooked.
You're terrified. Oh. But like it's just like those are the only times that he actually looks bad or dumb or like he doesn't know what he's doing is when it's like been chopped to pieces. But it's like he'll sit there and he'll deliver these dumbass monologues.
Yeah. It's not his fault.
It really isn't. There are so many little things in this that are like just so bizarre. I don't know if it's if it's something where it's like people didn't notice or they just didn't care or whatever. There's a whole bunch of those like shots of him being wheeled around in the wheelchair or like wheeling himself somewhere. Constant jump cuts.
Yeah.
All over the place for no reason. There's one that makes it look like he rolls past the doctor twice.
Yeah.
Which made it seem like he was going in circles and just like,
or
like he was
hallucinating
stuck or something. I don't know. But yeah, it would just like it would cut like 3 times in his movement of like going across a room or something.
Yeah. Point A to point B.
Yeah, like did they just think like, there's too long watching him roll all the way across this room. Let's just chop it into little bits and get through it faster or something. It looks so terrible. And then there's also that one scene, I think it was with the bird. I wrote in here, I just wrote, what is this camera? Yeah, it's when the crow attacks. But there's this one moment where the camera is just like up in the air, like above him, just like swinging erratically.
Yeah.
And I was just like, what, is that the bird? Is that supposed to be the bird's point of view or something? But he's not looking at the camera.
Yeah.
So it doesn't look like a POV shot. And it was just like, all of a sudden out of nowhere, I was queasy. It was just like, whoa, what are you doing? Like just wiggling around. And then back to the crow and then back to the rest of the scene. It was like, why was that even in there?
I don't know.
It didn't show us anything other than him like pivoting in his wheelchair, but like no actual action or anything.
Yeah.
So friggin' bizarre. Also, I know that since you're not as much of a Star Wars person, but I heard the R2-D2 bird 1,000 times in this movie. Did you hear that?
No.
There's this one bird whistle that is just, I'm almost certain, like whatever that bird call is, they use it in R2-D2's like speech patterns.
Gotcha.
Because it's really, really distinct. And it just kept happening. Like the first time I let it slide, I was just like, oh, it's just the bird noise. And it just so happens. But the more and more times you hear the exact same sound effect throughout it, it's like, you're using it on purpose. You know what you're doing. You've heard this before. It's so silly. But I think the scene that was quite possibly the most like baffling in terms of like, wait, what? Like at first I was like, oh, okay, here something's finally happening. And then it just brought up billions of questions that I don't understand at all. But there's that moment where he's in the room doing the exercises, the like arm exercises and shit. And then there's this like low shot behind him and you see the like arm flop over with blood on it. Like into frame.
Yes.
And in that moment, I'm just like, oh, finally something. Like here's like a bloody ghost or something, you know what I mean? Like, here's the fucking haunting that the title is promised us. And then he tips out of his wheelchair for some reason. I don't understand why he fell over in that scene.
He was spooked.
I didn't think he saw it until he had already fallen over. At least that's how it was cut. Because he's facing the other direction. We as the audience see that there's a corpse. And then he falls out of his chair and then looks at the corpse and is like, no, my God. And it's just like, how long was that body just laying there? It was like, it was not like it was hidden.
Yeah.
Or no, like it like, just showed up or something. Like it's like middle of the room, directly behind him.
Yeah.
There is no way he got into that room to do those exercises without seeing that corpse.
Yeah.
And there's also no way that dude just like walked into the room and then sat down there and slashed his wrists and he didn't notice either.
Yeah.
Like I was like, this must be like ghostly. when he sees it and freaks out and falls over and all that. I was like, oh, he's seeing this, and then someone's gonna come in the room, and it's just gonna be him, freaking out and be like, what? Oh, what's wrong, Toby? What's wrong? But they come in and they're like, oh shit, there's a body. And I was like, what? It's real? Oh my god! Wait, what? Why?
How?
What's wrong with him? Because that was the dude who talked about like loud noises spooking him, right? Wasn't that that guy? Yeah. And he was like, oh, I've gotten a lot better though. Gotten a lot better. And then he just kills himself, and you're like, why? And the movie's like, I don't know. I'm not going to answer that. And they never talk about him again.
Toby asks or mentions that too.
Yeah, like, he said he was doing better. Did he leave a note?
Yeah.
And then they're just like, nope. And then I guess at the end, it's supposed to be that the doctor made that guy kill himself.
I guess.
Because Toby gets the blade later. Like he's apparently just getting his patients to kill himself. Like, why? Is he trying to get himself fired or something? Like, I don't understand. And then even later when you see him as a ghost, when he comes back and he's got the little girl or whatever with him, which was like, wait a minute, that girl died in a bombing years ago, not in this building where you died, where your ghost would logically be. What are the ghost rules? Don't explain it. But like, he just shows up and he's just like, oh, Toby, it's not so bad.
Yeah.
Over here, it's pretty cool, I guess. Whatever. You should probably do it. Like,
we don't take our worldly ailments.
Yeah. It's just like, it's cool. You could just fucking kill yourself. It's all right, mate.
Yeah.
That's what it seems like the vibe is. And it's like, okay, so is it a good thing? Like, is that really his ghost?
Yeah.
Like,
is
what I mean?
that a
like,
hallucination?
I mean, yeah.
Is that something like the doctor put in his head?
That's what I mean. Like, did that dude get a vision of some other dude who's dead telling him that it was cool to do it? Like, oh, also you should go in the room where Toby's working out.
Yeah.
Do it right there behind him. It'll freak him out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I don't understand why anyone is doing any of these things. And it's never explained.
I wish I had answers, but we have the same questions.
Oh man, there were a number of moments that were just downright hilarious. Like I had to keep myself from fully laughing out loud several times throughout this movie. One of them was the laughing part.
What the fuck was that?
Like I got what it was like sort of doing, but at the same time that was another scene that I just wrote like, was that a dream? I don't know.
Yeah.
I have no idea. Cause like they show like sequences of him and his like bomber buddies in the plane. And they're increasingly bigger dicks.
Yeah.
Every time. Like the first time they're just like, oh, let the bombs go. Oh, everything's cool. And then the next time they're using all those like euphemisms for dropping the bombs, like we've laid our eggs, like we've done this, so that, and whatever. And they're all like laughing at each other, and they're just like as the bombs are blowing, and everything. And it's like, wow, okay. Like I didn't think it was possible to laugh that hard while you're doing something so like horrible.
Yeah.
But it's just like, so they're laughing hysterically while they're doing that, like not thinking of them as people. Just, this is fun, isn't it? We dropped our payload, whatever. So then when that other dude starts laughing in his face and everyone else in the room starts laughing, I was like, oh, is that like the horrible laughter? Like that's what they're referencing? I don't know why these people are laughing. Yeah. I don't even know if it's actually happening.
Yeah.
Because this is another one of those scenes that just starts at some point and ends at another point.
Yeah.
And who knows what came before it or later or where it is in the timeline or anything. It's like there's one scene of him and his aunt, and then it cuts and it's just him in a room with a bunch of people.
Yeah.
And it's like, what is happening here? Why are they all meeting? Is there a meeting? Is this just a common area and everyone just happens to be in it?
Yeah.
What is anybody's relation to anybody else in here? They don't explain any of it. And it's just like, here's the thing. And he just starts laughing. And it was just like, I have no clue what's happening at this point.
Yeah.
That was so bizarre.
Agreed. Across the whole movie.
Oh man. And then the dream where he's doing it with his aunt and he has the devil horns poking out of his hair.
Yeah. What?
Oh my God, that was so
fuck?
fucking funny. Like, again, like, it's not like the like overarching story doesn't make sense, and even like some of the details you understand kind of like where they're coming from and what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
It's just the fact that none of it ever comes together and it's just like random shit, you know what I mean? It's basically like having just like a bag of ingredients for something and just being like, here is your meal.
Yes.
And it's like, what? Like, you haven't put this together in any kind of presentable manner. So you've literally just given me
raw.
Yeah, you've just given me like a raw chicken and a bunch of raw potatoes, loose spices in the bottom of this bag. Like, this is not a dinner. Like, yeah, it's close enough. It's got all the stuff.
Yeah.
You know, what do you want us to do? Like, finish it. Make it presentable. Also, something else that was fucking bizarre was the first scene when they show up to the place and they pull him out of the like ambulance truck thing in the like stretcher and then just lay him on the ground, and that's just where he goes.
And walk away.
Yeah, they just walk away, and then she's just sort of like standing there talking to him down on the ground, and he's just sort of laying there like, yep, I guess this is where I go.
Yeah.
Like, there wasn't, there's no wheelchair in the truck. There's no wheelchair waiting for him.
Yeah.
They're literally like, and if there's nothing ready for him yet, why bring him out and just lay him on the ground?
Yeah, just let him stay on the truck.
Yeah, like
ambulance,
it must
whatever.
be more comfortable in there. Like,
Seriously.
why did they do that?
And just the way that his arms like flopped out to the side when he like they first got him out of the ambulance.
Oh, he's already dead.
That's what I thought. I thought that this was like I wasn't 100% sure about anything in this movie from the start.
Yeah.
Like, I thought he died in the plane and he was dead, and they were like, and that's why they just left him on the ground, because it's dead body. Like, they gotta go make sure that there's room in the morgue or whatever. I don't know. It seemed more reasonable to leave just a dead body on the ground than a live person.
Yeah.
Like, so I wasn't sure, but then she started talking to him, and I was like, okay, now
no, he's probably alive.
Either he's alive or she talks to the dead. I don't know, because I don't know who this is just yet. They seem real friendly. It was questions immediately.
I loved what he just said. You should look into my eyes when we toast, which is so creepy. It was just like, don't make him. Well, force eye contact. That's so strange. But it was the line before that where he's writing a letter to her, and he says, you know that feeling that you're being watched, and then you are? I have that feeling all the time, except when I look up, there's nobody there. It's like, that's not the same feeling. Then that's the feeling of being watched and you're not.
Yeah.
Like,
oh my God.
That doesn't make any sense. Like, I thought that was like one of those things where you can only imagine someone reading that and just being like, fuck, like, I have to say that.
Yeah.
Like, can I just cut out the second part where I immediately contradict myself? Like, oh my God.
There was also you won't take me. I'm not even phased. He's like telling the spiders as he's sitting in a bathtub.
Yeah, you've clearly gone mad. Like, I like that at one point he does say that, like, if that's not true, or if that's true, then I must really have gone mad. And it's like, yeah, clearly, dude.
Yeah.
That's pretty apparent to me. I don't know. I did look, and then there was that one fucking sequence that I couldn't believe ended the way that it did. I was just furious about it. Was the sequence, like, it's such a clear horror movie setup. And I can't believe that they did absolutely nothing with it. But when he's laying in bed and he drops his box of matches off, and it like lands on the floor, and it's like, oh shit, this bed's real tall.
Yeah,
he has to lean off to get it. Obviously, if his legs don't work, then if he falls out of the bed, then he's kind of fucked. Like, he's stuck. On the floor or whatever. You know what I mean? And so like the idea of like, okay, maybe he falls off and there's like something under the bed, or something like that, or as he's reaching down to get the matchbox, something gets him, grabs him, whatever. And by the end of the scene, it's literally like, apparently the ghost took his matches because the box was just gone. At least that's as far as I could tell what happened. It's like he looked down and could see the box. And then he reached down and like touched the floor and there was no box. And he was like, And then the scene ended, and I was like, his box of matches is gone.
Yeah.
The terror. Like, that's not enough, movie. Like, there needs to, there needs to actually be something there. Just like, as far as he knows, and like, it shouldn't be a moment of like scariness for him, the character, because he should just be like, ah, shit, I guess it bounced further under the bed than I thought.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, there's nothing inherent in that is like, a ghost did it.
Yeah.
It's literally just like, oh, shit, I lost him.
Yeah, can't reach.
Yeah, you would never think for an extra second that, like, it must be ghosts.
Yeah.
Like, if something full-on disappeared from, like, his bedstand or, you know, something else, or, you know, something big, like a real haunting moment.
Yeah, something goes flying across the room.
Yeah, something like that. Then you could maybe be like, oh, shit. But it's literally just like, his matches are gone. Oh, it's spooky, isn't it? Like, no? And something that I was laughing at when I pulled up the Wikipedia here for it, like last thing that I'll specifically bring up, and it just adds to the like complete confusion over everything. You know what I mean? Where you know, other than that tiny little blurb that like technically described the movie, you know what I mean? Like if you were to try to explain this to people, it would be just incomprehensible because it would just be like, wait, what is it? So it's like a guy who's being like, is it like a Rosemary's Baby thing where like, you know, there's like a conspiracy. It's like, oh, I don't know. Like, oh, really? Well, wait, is it all like in his head? No idea.
Yeah.
Like, oh, okay. Is it the devil? Could be.
Maybe.
Yeah, like literally every answer is like, maybe. I don't know. It's possible. Like there's no fucking answers to it. So there's no real way to like hook someone into it, you know? Like there's nothing to really say about it or even specifically like a tagline.
Yeah.
Because the poster on here has a tagline. And it's so funny how little it like actually relates to anything. Because it's like, of course, like everything else in this movie, nothing fits together. Like this it feels like this was supposed to be on like a different movie's cover and they got swapped and they just put it on there and they're like, well, I mean, it doesn't not make sense, I guess. Because it's literally on here, literally is the Haunted Airman. Nobody lives forever.
What?
Right? It's like nobody says otherwise. At no point in this movie is anyone under the delusion that they do. What does that mean? Like, it's such nonsense. It's so fucking funny to me where it really felt like nobody making this movie ever talked to anyone else making this movie. Like everybody did their pieces independent of each other completely and somehow a movie happened.
I'm so glad that Robert Pattinson made it out of this.
Really. And what I really love too is like in the movie, he is just a dude. Like the movie has a kind of like a grimy kind of look to it. Like it was in 2006. It was like right in the era when Saw was huge. And I remember those movies, like that was like the gold standard of horror movies at that moment in time. And they were always like dirty green tinted. So it felt like this movie was like, well, we gotta. So everything was kind of gross and dirty and green and grimy. But he is just like a normal looking guy. He's just a guy. He's just Robert Pattinson as a man, whatever.
There were a couple of scenes where I was like, oh.
Well, I mean, obviously, yeah.
But yeah.
But the cover, at least this poster, specifically makes him look like Edward.
Oh, yeah.
Like they knew what they had when they put this out on DVD. Where it's like, by the time people are getting this on DVD, he's been in Twilight. So we need to Photoshop him on the cover to look as much like a vampire, despite him not being a vampire in this movie. So that people might get it because they think maybe it's another vampire movie with Robert Pattinson.
They won't read the title.
Yeah, really. It's so fucking, so funny. That's another like great thing about movies like these is when the like retrospect thing where it's like, oh, didn't you love this guy? Like now, way after they made whatever you're peddling. Like, this is nonsense. What are you talking about? But man, I mean, it's a pretty decent way to open the month.
Yeah,
in terms of just like being the exact kind of movie you expect.
Yeah, I hope we can continue the trend.
Yeah, I hope that we have a big, long, wonderful month of just absolutely batshit movies and just seeing like, oh my God, thank God everyone in these, or at least the people we're looking at, specifically get out of this kind of stuff. But I think that is going to wrap it up this week for Popcorn for Dinner. This is Jeff.
And Kelly.
Don't be a silly boy.